The 2026 North Carolina primary is in the books with at least one highly competitive race. Far from over. Battles are indeed brewing in battleground North Carolina. Here to talk about them is Elon poll director and political analyst Jason Husser. Jason, thanks for sticking around. We covered a lot of ground in our last hour, but much more to talk about here. I want to first narrow down what happened in District 26, a very highly watched state Senate race. You have two big name Republicans, Sheriff Sam Page, longtime incumbent Berger. 2 votes. Have you seen a race this close from your recollection? I can't remember.
I can only think of a few, and they've typically been like village elections, like a really tiny place, not something as big as 2 counties in North Carolina.
No.
And then on top of that, this vote pattern in which you see Page winning both of their home counties, but Page's county of being sheriff so heavily, and then Berger basically having flipped and a heavy favorite here in Guilford County. It's important to note, though, that the county sizes do matter. The district, it doesn't take all of Guilford County in, and so some of these ratios about where the provisional ballots might come from, how many are going to come from Rockingham County versus Guilford, will potentially make the difference in that 1-vote margin.
Let's talk about provisional ballots and the process for counting those. That begins now during this canvass period, right? What have you seen in the past as far as the number of provisional ballots from each of these 2 counties and how they could sway in either candidate's favor looking at the overall result?
I always tell voters that your provisional ballot matters. Don't pretend like it doesn't. Your vote does count. But often when we're talking about elections, they're not determinative of the outcome. This is going to be a rare case where these provisional ballots will likely make the difference in who wins or loses. It's going to take another couple days before we get all that data about provisional ballots. We're then still likely to have a recount, because this is tight enough where a recount may make a difference. Typically, recounts shift votes 10 to 100 votes, even across the statewide. We usually don't see 1,000 vote shift from a recount. But in this tight of margins, this is absolutely why we have the rules in place we have for good recounts.
Yes, we will also be closely watching this U.S. Senate Republican primary to fill outgoing Senator Thom Tillis' seat. We have Michael Whatley, the Trump endorsee, former Republican National Committee chair, with an expected win here, the biggest name in this race. What do you think his chances are heading into November, given that Governor Roy Cooper, who won the Democratic ticket for this and is the projected nominee there, was a 2-term governor for us, 2-term attorney general? This is going to be really competitive.
We have a situation in which Cooper is by far the best known political figure in North Carolina, versus someone who's still an unknown to many voters. Whatley has been a very prominent person behind the scenes. He's headed the state party. But for your average voter, since he's never run for office, he's not really been in the public eye, he's got a lot of catching up to do when it comes to name recognition. I think we see some of that in vote totals. We see much higher vote totals for Democrats than we see for Republicans in this race, 625,000 to 824,000. That could be a sign about motivation, that Democrats might be more motivated, or it might just be a normal sort of primary fluky thing where we see results. But I would be a little worried about that if I was a Republican right now, that Democrats got so many more votes in the primary.
Well, because this race is being watched nationwide, right? I mean, our battleground, North Carolina, and our specific U.S. Senate seat could essentially flip the balance of power in Washington. The last time Democrats had one of our 2 North Carolina U.S. Senate seats was with Kay Hagan in 2015, right? And then Thom Tillis came in. So this is huge for both parties.
It's huge in terms of balance of power, which determines committee chairs and things like that. And it's also huge in terms of President Trump having a little bit of leeway. We're seeing that right now with the Iran war powers resolutions that we might see, where if you lose one Republican like Rand Paul, you've got to make it up somewhere else. And so that's where Fetterman has been coming in. If Whatley wins, that gives a cushion for Trump, even if they retain the Senate. Cooper winning might make a difference in tipping it, but it certainly will make a difference in the cushion that Trump would have.
All right, Jason, thanks so much for your insight and analysis. We'll have you joining us back here in our 9 o'clock hour. Much more to come.